Welcome back, everyone. Today we are going to take a look at the Sheridan PGP. The Sheridan PGP is one of the grandfathers of paintball markers. This is the Sheridan on which all other Sheridans are based. Okay, that's not exactly true because there was the PG before the PGP, but really everyone knows of the PGP as one of the original paintball markers. Like the Palmer Super Stocker that I showed you before, this is a 3-tube stock class Sheridan-based paintball marker. It's all brass. In the bottom tube you have your valve and your hammer. In the front you have your 12 gram because this is a stock class marker exclusively, so you run it with a 12 gram in the front of the lower tube. The middle tube is the barrel and the bolt, and the upper tube is the feed tube. Now, I and other people have done a lot to this PGP to make it a lot more user-friendly. They don't come that way out of the box. So going from top to bottom here, there's a bunch of things you need to do to not just PGPs but Sheridans to really maximize their utility. So starting with the feed tube here, you need two things. One are ball slots, so you can see how many shots you have left. By default, there aren't any, so you can't tell unless you're counting, which is really hard to do in-game. So someone I know slotted the feed tube for me. The second thing here is a speed gate. So this is a way to load the paintballs more rapidly. You jam a 10-round tube in there and pull this little lever out, and it dumps the paintballs in very quick and easy. The standard way of doing this is having a very small little feed plug that you twist and remove. You dump the tube in, and then you replace it. Well, it's really slow to do that, and it's also easy to drop and lose that plug in-game. So you need the speed gate for your feed tube. So you need slotted feed tube and a speed gate. Going down to the second tube here, the barrel. The first thing you need are wedgets, and I talked about these in the context of the Palmer Super Stocker because there's something that Palmer's Pursuit Shop has been doing for a long time. Wedgets are little indentations that prevent the paintballs from rolling down the barrel. These old brass markers have very large diameter barrels, and today's small paint will roll right through them unless you have these little wedgets. Now these I did myself. It's really easy to do with a hammer and a punch. You have to be careful to not go in too far, but as long as you're careful, one thing you can do is put a little wooden dowel down the barrel that's the exact diameter of the barrel so you can't go in too far. But anyway, I made wedgets myself for this. They work really well. So that is improvement number 3, wedgets on the barrel. Improvement number 4 is a quick strip slot. This is a small slot in the side of the marker right here, which I'll remove the pump and I'll show you. This slot allows you to twist and remove the bolt rather than have to actually either depress or unscrew the hammer lug to slide the bolt out. If you have to mess with the hammer lug, you can't get the bolt out on the field. With a quick strip slot, if you break paint in the barrel, you can remove the bolt, clean out, and then put it right back in, no problem. So you need a quick strip slot. Actually, let me leave that out because number 5 is some kind of aftermarket bolt. The standard PGP bolt has a couple of BBs in it, like this. Those are really useful for preventing the bolt from sliding backwards when it is in the fully forward position. You need those there because otherwise you tend to double feed if you're holding the marker. That's a problem because if you take the stock bolt out, there's nothing retaining those BBs, they just fly out. Aftermarket bolts don't have that problem. This is a Cooper T bolt, and you can see that the BBs are retained. They're not going to fall out, and that's good. The other thing is that it's a 2-stage bolt, so the back end of it slides out a little bit when you first go to pump it, and then when you bring it back forward, the back end comes back forward, and that re-engages the tension behind those BBs and keeps the bolt from sliding backwards. That system is a lot better than the stock 1-stage bolt, which is both harder to pump and also is prone to losing those BBs when you remove it from the marker. So thing number 5, aftermarket bolt. Then you get down to the lower tube where you have the hammer, the valve, and the 12 gram zone. So in the front here, the big improvement in the lower tube is the 12 gram fast change. This is an extended knob with coarser, steeper threads, so you can switch 12 grams in about 1.5 to 2 turns of that knob instead of constantly having to like really go and then undo it. It takes a really long time. So that is a major, one of the big improvements to make this marker user-friendly. On the other end, you need a rear velocity adjuster, a way to adjust the spring tension. Out of the box, PGPs don't have RVAs, so you need an aftermarket RVA. This is, like the Bolt, a Cooper T RVA, so it has a locking screw at the bottom, which is a nice touch. There's lots of different versions of these. They all work equally well. RVAs are one of the best things you can do for a Sheridan to make it easier to use. And then finally, getting down to the trigger frame, there are 3 more things for a total of 10. First is you want a trigger shoe just because comfortable. Trigger shoes make the marker more comfortable. The second thing down here is this hole that allows easier access to the frame screw, so if you're disassembling the marker, it's much easier to do. And the 10th and final thing I think you need to make a Sheridan more user-friendly is a nice set of grips. The stock Sheridan grips, I find them very small. I have long, spindly fingers, so I need kind of a thicker set of grips. So either the PMI rubber grips or what I have here, the battle grips, both work really well for these frames. So to review, on a PGP, like my PGP, things you need to make it more user-friendly. You need a slotted feed tube, a speed feed for paintballs, you need wedgets, you need an aftermarket bolt, and a quick strip slot. You need a fast change CO2 knob, you need a rear velocity adjuster, a trigger shoe, a frame removal screw access hole, and a comfy set of grips. You put all those things together and you can build a really rockin' PGP out of a marker that's tricky to use out of the box. PGPs come in 2 major variants. This is a pre-2K PGP from obviously the 20th century, where you have the barrel that is flush with the feed tube here, so it's all kind of level out of the box. The 2K PGP, or the PGP2, has a longer barrel and comes with the fast change, with an RVA, with a better bolt, and with a not great speed gate, but a speed gate nonetheless out of the box. There's a lot of improvements in the PGP2 compared to the pre-2K PGP. One problem I have with those is that the knob sits behind the barrel, so it's hard to get a lot of leverage because it's actually, if you could picture it, the knob is actually kind of under the barrel rather than in front of it, so it's hard to get a lot of leverage on that CO2 knob on the PGP2, which is one reason I prefer pre-2K. The one thing I haven't talked about is the valve in here. There's lots of different types of valves. The 2 main ones are the non-cartridge valve, which has all little parts, and then the cartridge valve, which comes out as a whole unit. I don't know enough about them as far as things like efficiency goes to tell you which one is better than the other. From a maintenance standpoint, the cartridge valve is far superior. It's way, way easier to get everything in and out, and it's all self-contained. You open it up and everything is accessible. So for that reason alone, I really prefer a cartridge valve PGP, which is what this is. So in terms of using this on the field, obviously it has a very short barrel, it's unported, it's very loud. Is it as efficient as like a CCI Phantom or another Nelson-based marker? No, it's not. It's nowhere close to that. You might get 20 or 25 good shots on a 12 gram on a warm day if you're not shooting that fast. That's what you're going to get out of this. You're not going to get 30, 35, 40 shots out of it. All those things mean it's tougher to use compared to your standard Nelson-based marker like a CCI Phantom. But what you gain is that it's super fun, just like I talked about with the Palmer Super Stalker or the Tippmann Pro Carbine. These markers are not made to be easy or user-friendly, they're made to be fun, they're loud, is something they all share, and it's just fun to run around with this thing. It really creates a challenge, and right away it puts you at a disadvantage compared to basically everybody else on the field, which is a fun way to approach the game. Really, really, really makes you have to think about how you're approaching everything you do on the field, and I find that type of challenge a lot of fun. I find that very enjoyable. So that's the Sheridan PGP. This is my very highly upgraded Sheridan PGP. It is a Sheridan-based, all-brass, stock class paintball pistol. It is super fun, and I encourage everybody, if you get the chance, give something like this a try out on the field. It really is a fun experience, and I don't think you'll regret it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next time to look at another Sheridan-based marker, the younger but bigger brother of the PGP, the PMI-1.